You now tuned in to the Gumptown Podcast. I'm your boy Doug B. We ain't got nothing to talk about, but we got something to talk about. Let's go. Good people, good people, good people. Welcome back to the Gumptown Podcast, episode 130. I'm your boy Doug B. If you tuned in to this podcast, thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate you giving this podcast a shot. Today's guest is the founder and owner of the Carte LLC. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I'm sure we'll all be inspired by our story. Let's chop it up with Ingrid Graves. Ingrid, how's it going?
Hi, it's going really well. How are you?
Glad to hear that, and all is well on my end too. First things first, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to speak with me a few minutes. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Of course, here to talk about the Sweet Cart and all the great things you have going on with the business. But before we talk business, let's get to know the woman behind the brand. So you were born and raised in Otagoville, Alabama. What was your upbringing like in Otagoville?
Well, of course, Otagoville is a small town, a place where everybody is pretty close knit, family, friends. Everybody knows pretty much everybody. Um, I'm a country girl at heart, so I enjoy all country things. But of course, coming from a small town, I still had big aspirations, and I am in the middle of going for those goals, going for those aspirations. So hopefully, I'll continue to do what I do and get better at it and reach all the goals that I want to reach.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So it sounds like coming up in that small town, everybody knowing everybody. Sounds like you had a great village around you growing up.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Large families, and like I said, we're very close knit. Mom and dad, hardworking, um, aunts and uncles, cousins. You know how it is. Cousins get together on the weekends, on during summer vacations, and so we've all grown up to be pretty close and continue to just support each other. So that's the type of atmosphere that I'm used to, and I try to keep my kids, even though that they're adults now, I try to keep them and my grandkids involved in that same family dynamic.
Ma'am, there's nothing like family. So you grow up in the Targerville and you go off to Birmingham to attend UAB. Did you experience any cultural shock going from small town to the big city?
Well, not too much. I had an aunt who lived there, so I lived with her, and so I used to visit her often anyway. So I was kind of familiar with the city. The only difference was I guess I was expecting a little more of a college campus feel, but of course, UAB is in the heart of Birmingham, so it's a little different than your traditional college campus life, which was fine with me. There was no major culture shock. I think I've adjusted pretty well.
Okay, sounds good. So you had already prepped yourself for just the city, going to visit your aunt and all that good stuff. And
Yeah.
I was always curious about the UAB college life because, to your point, it's in the heart of Birmingham. So it's almost like you're going to work versus going to a college campus.
Yeah, yeah. But they still have all of the college traditions and things like that. So there was definitely an active student life there. So I had definitely had fun the 2 years that I was there.
Okay, sounds good. So you spend a couple years at UAB and ultimately end up going to Troy to finish your degree. So just in terms of that atmosphere, I'm pretty sure that was were you doing online classes or were you going on campus? What was that like?
Actually, I was going on campus mostly at night because at that time I had a family and had a full-time job. So I would go to the job and then go to classes at night. I think I probably did have a couple of online classes, but the majority of them were um, on campus, the Montgomery campus. And of course, that was also different because I was an older student, but there were a lot of older students, so I didn't feel out of place at all. And it was a very good experience, very, I guess, active. environment as far as the students interacting with each other and helping each other out with the courses. So I enjoyed my time at Troy as well.
Yes, ma'am. I had an opportunity to go get my master's at Troy, and I love how they cater to the working professional. You can, like you said, go to work during the day, and in the evening, go downtown, go down to the campus, and I had a very similar experience. Just had great classmates. We all collaborated and made sure we all passed those classes. So that's good stuff.
Right, right. It's definitely a difference when you go back as an adult and you still can bond with people and have that camaraderie and get the job done and, be successful as a student. So that was real important and it was a great experience.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And hats off to you for going back and finishing the job. You didn't necessarily have to, but you made a decision to finish what you started. Much respect to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I definitely wanted to complete that degree.
Yes, ma'am. So let's talk about the Sweet Cart LLC. What inspired the name?
Well, the sweet was easy because I definitely wanted to do custom desserts. So the sweet part was easy. The cart, I just felt like it had to be something kind of catchy. And I put an E on the end of cart just to give it a little bit more flair, just to make it a little bit different. So the sweet cart was born.
Okay. Good. And I read that you are a self-taught home baker. What exactly inspired you to want to learn this skill?
Well, I guess it all started just with my family, just wanting to create cakes for my kids for their birthdays, just for family events, family dinners. It started from there, and it just kind of went forward to baking for coworkers, things like that, and then it just kind of ballooned, and that's when I really started to wanting to get more involved with the details of decorating. And so I would just look at television shows. Now it's a whole lot easier because you can Google a tutorial. But back then I did a whole lot of looking at shows. Now I do tutorials and just trial and error and doing it myself just to perfect the craft.
Hmm. Sounds good. Just studying the craft and just trial and error, cooking for the kids, baking cakes for their birthday. That's amazing. Like, and that's one of the things that caught my eye when I was reading the story. I was like, self-taught. I was like, I wonder what encouraged her to get into this space because baking is very therapeutic. I wouldn't say I'm a culinary artist or anything like that, but I do enjoy seeing things come together. Like you get your eggs, your flour, and all that good stuff. See, but I'm not as, but see, I have the I've leveraged YouTube universities. So you did it the old school. You did it the right way. I'm doing it the easy way. I'm stealing TikTok recipes and YouTube University.
Well, I tell you, it is a lot of trial and error in my business. And when you get that one recipe that you're happy with, you stick with it because sometimes you have to tweak it a little bit, to get it right. But I've got an arsenal of recipes that I'm really happy with, and my clients seem to be happy with them. So we're gonna stick with that. And the decorating, it just, you know, trial and error again. Just learning and looking, watching, getting ideas from other bakers and tweaking them to meet my needs. That's generally how I do it.
Yes, ma'am. And that's hats off to you for acknowledging that. And there's nothing wrong with taking some ideas that you see other bakers do and putting your own spin on it. Like I'm definitely a fan of that. I mean, why reinvent the wheel? There's no reason to. You can just take what's already available, put your own spin on it. So that's great. So what would you say was the first dessert you mastered just in terms of not necessarily needing a recipe? Like you just knew how to do it off muscle memory.
Oh wow. Um, I guess it would be just the basic vanilla cake. I did that for a wedding, and that was my first big wedding. And that was back then, that was my go-to recipe, a really nice vanilla cake. And that was probably the first cake that, you know, I could just whip up at the drop of a hat, not have to look at anything. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk more. Let's talk more about that wedding, just in terms of the event. So, that being your first wedding, what was the overall reception of the cake? Did they tear it up?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was they had that one tier left, that they always have for the bride and groom to take home, but everything else got eaten. And I
That's
was
what
very happy.
that's what I'm talking about. Show it up and show it out for your first event. That's amazing. Yes,
Definitely.
ma'am. So, with you being a baker and running a business, in terms of when you go out to eat, do you order dessert? And if so, are you a harsh critic, or do you give people grace?
Um, I am not a harsh critic when I do order dessert. I usually like to order anything chocolate if that's on the menu because chocolate seems to be one of my favorite things to eat. So, but I'm definitely not a harsh critic. I do give grace. And generally, when I go out and order those things, they tend to be pretty good. If anything, especially the chocolate, maybe it would be too rich, but most of the time I'm just a chocolate freak, so I'm usually in love with it.
Yes, ma'am. Sounds good. So, in terms of all the things that you do offer at the Sweet Cart, just in terms of, let's just run down the list of a variety of things well, what are your most popular items?
Okay, well, most popular as far as what people really enjoy are the strawberry cake, strawberry cupcakes, red velvet cake, and red velvet cupcakes. So those are very, very popular. And what's beginning to be more popular is a purple velvet that I do, and I have made that a signature cupcake for me because purple is my favorite color. And so I want to make the purple velvet cupcake my signature cupcake, and that is really taking off as well. Um, with me being a custom bakery, about 90% of my business, just is by order. So people will call me, put their order in, and give me all the details of what they would want. So that's 90% of my business. The other 10% is just from people saying, hey, I need a dozen red velvet cupcakes, or they'll come in on the weekends when I'm there and, just get a couple of cupcakes, whatever I have available there. So, but the red velvet and strawberry and now the purple velvet seem to be the big sellers.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. You definitely cooking up some good stuff over there because for Red Velvet to be one of the most popular ones, see, Red Velvet is a Southern delicacy and you
Oh
got to do
yeah,
it just right.
you got to do it right, and people will let you know if they do not like your red velvet. So I'm very happy that I have return customers for my red velvet.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Because, hey, you know and I know, we down here in the South, we don't play about that Red Velvet. It got to be on point every time.
Definitely, every time.
Yes, ma'am. So whenever I have entrepreneurs, creators on the platform like yourself, I like to talk about three things: the aha moment, action, and audacity. So take us back to the aha moment when you first had the idea to take your love for baking and turn it into a business.
Well, I guess, well, since I had been doing it for a while, I always had an inkling to make it into a business, but there was always life getting in the way of that. But I guess my aha moment would be the point when all of my children were out of the house. They were in college, doing their own thing. And I went through a divorce. And so I was like, okay, it's time for me to do something for me. So let me go ahead and, you know, get this thing started. So I just put any fears that I had to the side, didn't wait on anybody to say, yes, go ahead and do it. I just went ahead and did it myself. Just started out one day at a time.
Wow, that's amazing. I appreciate you for sharing that, and I think it's great that you were able to find purpose in that period of your life. I can only imagine like it wasn't necessarily the best period of life, but you made something, but you turned that period of life into a business. So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
So from the time you became an empty nester and went through what how long did it take you to take action on the idea once you came up with it? Was it immediate or did you take a couple of months? What was that like?
It did take a few months to actually get everything going and really, getting my action plan into place. It did take a few months. Yeah.
Okay, sounds
So,
good. No
yeah.
worries. Oh, were you saying something else? My apologies.
No, I was just going to say that after the initial planning phase and everything went pretty smoothly.
Okay, sounds good. So you had an idea, had a plan, acted on it, got started in business. So that last portion, audacity, is one thing to have an idea, another thing to put action behind it. It's a whole different thing to put it out to the world to be praised or criticized. Who or what gave you that courage, that audacity to put the sweet card out to the world to be praised or criticized?
Well, definitely the number one would be God, because I would definitely believe in divine intervention. And I prayed about it a lot, and everything just started falling into place. So I know it only had to be God with that. Um, Secondly, I would have to say my mom, because I learned from her that if you're passionate about what you want to do, it's really not a job. It's really not work. And, she's had her business since I was very, very, very young. She has a home daycare, and she is very passionate. She loves what she does. She loves working with little kids. So she is definitely, definitely a person who gave me the audacity to do that. And lastly, but definitely not least, I would say, just the rest of my family and close friends who help me and cheer me on and lift my spirits, whenever I need it. And they're always, my cheering squad, my taste testers. And so, I definitely wouldn't be here without them.
Yes, ma'am. Powerful stuff. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, just that village, that powerful village. And it definitely takes a village at all levels in life when we're children and when we're adults. So it just sounds like, once again, your village playing a pivotal role in your life. That's amazing.
Definitely.
So in 2016, you go on to join the Millbrook Area Chamber of Commerce. What's been your experience being a part of that?
Well, in joining the chamber, I joined right when I got my brick and mortar building, and definitely it gave me the opportunity to meet other business owners in the area and even do some collaborations with a couple of them. They were able to contact me to help them out with events they were having as far as providing desserts for them. I've been able to just network with a whole lot of different people, be involved with some of the activities that the chamber put on. And so it was a great business growing opportunity. And that actually led to me um, taking on a term. I was asked to take on a term to join the board of directors for the chamber. And I just completed a 3-year term on that board. And that was an exciting experience as well.
Wow, powerful stuff. And that's what it's all about, networking, collaboration. So hats off to you for taking that initiative, joining the Chamber of Commerce. And I did read in 2020 that you became the first African American board member for the Millbrook Chamber.
Right.
Ingrid made history, y'all. Much respect.
Well, I appreciate that. I was very surprised when I researched it and realized that I would be the first. And so I was definitely a little nervous about that. But I felt like, you know, who better to do it than me, because I wanted to definitely be a part of history, and I wanted to get that input from a minority business owner. Being a Black person, being a woman, I think that added a lot of, I guess, a lot of information that the chamber may not have had, the chamber board may not have had, if I had not become a part of it. And so I was very happy to serve. I felt like my time there was very well served. and I wouldn't change anything about it. I feel like the chamber has grown from me being on it, and Millbrook has definitely, been a buzz as far as business is concerned lately. So I'm very happy about that.
Yes, ma'am. Powerful stuff. So you got a chance to make history, had a chance to get in and give them a different perspective, like you were just saying, just in terms of from a minority business owner, black business owner, as well as female business owner. So that's great that you got a chance to take on that role, and hats off to you for not letting your nervousness make you back away from the role and you stepped into it. Sounds like you had a great time and you were able to leave a great impact. Great stuff.
I thank you for that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So you've done great things with the sweet cart, and I'm sure great things are coming down the pipeline, which leads to my next portion, vision. What are some of your short-term and long-term goals for the business that you feel comfortable sharing?
Well, as far as short-term goals, I know that I do want to add to my portfolio when it comes to restaurants and supplying them with desserts. I do have a couple of restaurants presently that I supply desserts to on a weekly basis, and I just want to grow that list and add more restaurants, at least two or three more within the next few months. So I'm actively working on that for a short-term goal. As far as long-term goals, I would say just continuing to deliver great cakes to my clients in the form of just building my brand through that and hopefully becoming the go-to bakery for unique homemade desserts and just becoming one of the most successful bakeries in the area.
Yes, ma'am. Powerful goals, both short-term and long-term, and I have no doubt you'll make them all come to fruition.
I pray so, yes.
Yes, ma'am. As we wrap up the podcast, Ingrid, I want to ask $1 million question. I started this podcast to highlight the greatness connected to the city, river region, whether you were born here or lived here for a significant life, be it college, military, or work. You being a resident of the river region for over 20 years now. I want to ask you, what do you appreciate the most about the river region?
I definitely appreciate the most just the history we have here when it comes to civil rights, just being in the area of Montgomery, Selma, even Birmingham. These places are where the civil rights movement was born. And that's very important to me because I may not have had the opportunities of being a business owner or being on the board of the chamber if it had not been for those people who fought and died for the rights that I'm enjoying right now. So we have to remember that and use that motivation to help the next person realize their goals. We never need to forget the sacrifices that our ancestors and others have made for us. I think it keeps you humble, definitely keeps me humble and more hungry to continue to reach my goals and help other people reach theirs.
Yes, ma'am. Powerful stuff. So how can people connect with you, Ingrid? What are your social media handles and website?
Well, social media handle for Instagram and Facebook is The Sweet Cart. That's with an E on the end of cart. And my website is www.thesweetcart.com. And they can email me at thesweetcart@gmail.com.
Yes, ma'am. And of course, I'll put all the information in the description of the episode. Hey, Ingrid, thanks again for the conversation. I really appreciate you.
I thank you for having me. I've enjoyed the conversation.
Yes, ma'am. Good people, that concludes another dope episode of the Gumptown Podcast. In the meantime, in between time, y'all know what to do. Be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. Gone. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate your time and your attention. Until next time.